you wouldn't be compensated for your knowledge and your understanding, for your wisdom, because wisdom brings solution. Hello, thanks once again for joining me. The last time we met, we looked at your greatest enemy, and we're able to establish that your greatest enemy is never the devil but ignorance. So today I'll be taking the discussion a step further as we look at the difference and connection between knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. While we were growing up, we do pray about these three entities, and usually we say, Lord, give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. But later, when I got better understanding into this concept, I noted that the prayers, in a way, is not in sequence, as you will see in this video. All right. Instead of saying that, Lord, give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, knowledge should come first, then understanding, and of course, the third is wisdom. So we're going to look at the difference and the connection between these three beautiful entities, and that is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So let's start by the way of defining or getting to know what each of these meant. So let's start with knowledge. All right, what is knowledge? Knowledge is the acquisition of facts, information through learning, experience, and education. So when you acquire knowledge, or when you acquire information of a fact, so to say, through what you have learned, your experience or education, that is what we refer to as knowledge. So in a way, knowledge can be acquired via learning or your experience. So, and that is knowledge. So all you know, what you know, that is what we refer to as knowledge. And this, in a way, differs from understanding, as we are going to see shortly. A story that comes to mind is that of Pharaoh and Joseph. You know about the dream that Pharaoh had in Egypt. He had of a dream, he dreamt that 7 cows, fat cows, and these fat cows, another set of cows came, that's 10 cows now. They came and swallowed up the other ones. So that's knowledge. He knew about the dream. Of course, God was showing him what's going to happen in the future. He knew about the dream, and he shared this with the wise men in Egypt. Despite the fact that they know about this, they did not understand the dream. That means that knowledge is different from understanding. Okay, before I take a step into what understanding is all about, there's one more thing in terms of knowledge, in terms of how to acquire knowledge. I have mentioned that you acquire knowledge via learning, education, or your experience. But there's one other thing, okay? You can learn without following this process. Actually, you can know something without reading about it, without experiencing it. And that has to do with the spiritual part of humans. We must not overlook this. Just like a French philosopher said, that we are not human beings with spiritual experience. Rather, we are spirit beings with physical experience. That means that we are actually spiritual beings. So you can get to know something without necessarily reading about it or learning about it or going through a learning system or school to actually know that. And that is why one of the gifts of the Spirit in terms of the manifestation of the Holy Spirit is knowledge. I can get to know what happened without actually reading about it. And that is what happens. We have that in the scriptures. Daniel, the king, that's Nebuchadnezzar now, he didn't tell the wise men about his dream, and he wanted them to tell him about the dream. And for any one of them that get to know about the dream, of course, that's knowledge. That's not by learning or by education. That's a spiritual thing. And we know that Daniel got to know that. And that does not rule out the fact or play down the place of studying. You need to study to actually know. For those guys, even Daniel, as much as he has the spirit of excellence, that he was able to even know the dream of the king without necessarily reading about it. That guy still studied. He studied in the University of Babylon. And you know what? He didn't study for a day. He studied for 3 good years in that university. So if it was just about knowing without necessarily studying, that means it doesn't need 3 years to stay in the University of Babylon to learn their literature and the other stuffs that they have in the university there. So that is it about knowledge. All right. So let's take this discussion a step further as we look at understanding. So understanding has to do with connection, in terms of the information you have. So you have your information, you have information at hand. The ability to be able to make connections between this information is what we refer to as understanding. So it's possible to know and not to understand. You get. Now, you can't understand without knowing. So that means that knowledge comes first before understanding. So by the time you know, the next thing is, do you understand what you know? All right. And that is very important. A very good example again is that of the popular eunuch, that Philip met. He was reading a portion of scriptures. Of course, he read it. He knew about what he was reading. But when Philip asked him, do you understand what you were reading? He said, how could I, if I do not have anyone to explain this to me? And this is actually very important. Apart from seeking knowledge, you read, you learn via your experience or via what you read or something, you understand. You need to understand, all right? Very important. That's the second step towards leveraging wisdom. So you need that level of understanding. And of course, the example that I was sharing earlier in terms of Joseph, all right, when the king shared the dream, that's Pharaoh now, shared the dream with Joseph, he understood the dream and he was able to explain to the king that, oh, ye king, the 7 fat cows means 7 years of plenty, and the 10 cows means 7 years of famine. So that is understanding. I think we should stop here today. In our next session, we're going to take it a step further by looking at the third entity, and that is wisdom. And you need to know that many a time you wouldn't be compensated for your knowledge and your understanding. Many a times you are compensated for your wisdom, because wisdom brings solution. I'll discuss that more in our next discussion. Thank you for joining me once again. See you some other time. Thank you.